So I would like to start here. Thank you, Marketa, that you will let in people who are a little bit late. So welcome everybody. My name is Hana Hniličková. I am a core energetics practitioner from Prague. I used to be a student of Dirk in core energetics, and I am one of you people who are interested in Dirk's new approach, or I don't know how new it is, but approach that was invented by Dirk, named core strokes. So I wish to introduce Dirk Marivoet, who is here from Belgium, and since we all are interested in his work, it is my intention to offer this space so that we can learn more. You know what this work is about. What can we learn there? Is it for us? So this is mainly my intention. And to introduce you, Dirk. Dirk is a senior teacher of core energetics and pelvis heart integration, and he is a not only psychotherapist but also physiotherapist. And after 35 years of practice, he put together his own approach named core strokes. We had an interview where we spoke a lot about breath in this work, you know, the energetic breath cycle. But when I read your web and when I read more information about core strokes, you say that in the heart of this work, there is the fascia, work with fascia. Yes. So I wish that today we give space to something that you call neurofascial. Oh, I cannot even say that. Neurofascial transformation process. Am I right?
Mhm.
And my first question would be, Dirk, how, after all of your experiences, how did it happen that you have realized that working with fascia can be so crucial, or that this part is really kind of in the heart of your work? This is my first question.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I have a very, very long relationship with working with the fascia because I'm a student of Jack Painter. He's my first mentor, basically, in body-mind integration. And I had been doing a lot of different approaches, exploring. And the most important one that I have been exploring as a therapeutic approach and also in group settings, bodywork, was bioenergetics. Bioenergetics. And from a colleague of mine, I got a suggestion to go and do postural integration, to have fascia work. And this really opened my mind and my body because I realized that I simply connected like tenfold deeper with my own system, my own nervous system, my own emotional system, even my cognitive space opened up so much just because of working with the fascia. So I became a practitioner in postural integration, and then I've been doing that for about 30 years. And little by little, I realized I was doing not the same thing with the fascia than I was doing like my other colleagues, and I was developing new concepts. And also coming from core energetics, for example, widened my theoretical perspective, bringing spirituality into it. And so now I believe I am working with four basic pillars in the work, which is first the energetic breath cycle, which is a 9-step breath formula that I adopted from Jack Painter. And then there is the neurofascial encoding.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an understanding. It's a little bit similar than what Wilhelm Reich would call armoring, muscular armoring, but I realized that his yeah, his understanding of the body was limited, of course, because of the time he was living in. But he was always speaking about pulsation and the plasmatic streaming in the body. And I understood that plasma is streaming in the myofascial layers. So it dawned to me that armoring and protection in general is very strongly imprinted in the myofascia. And this is now supported by scientific research and scientific insight for like 15 to 20 years. Before we knew intuitively that it was working, but we didn't understand why. So today I am really developing a neurological and a hormonal and also a relational understanding about how the fascia imprints our current and past experiences. So like the characters we develop, the personality patterns we develop in a positive or in a defensive way, they are also inscribed in the fascia. And the fascia is also, we understand, a very adaptive system. It changes minute by minute, depending on the situation we're in and what we are feeling. And so what we are feeling and if we are feeling is very, very important also to what's happening in the body. But we can facilitate feeling through working with the fascia, through opening the fascia, to breathing with the fascia, and to creating safety especially. So another theory that is very helpful in the work is polyvagal theory, for example. And other theories like Jaak Panksepp's neuroaffective science. So his understanding of emotional circuits. So that's an important pillar, neurofascial encoding. So we encode in the fascia, in the tissues, emotional breath aspects, also postural defenses. So the way we hold ourselves, the way we relate is reflected in the fascia.
May
And
I
then
ask you,
another,
Dirk, is it, if I understand it well, is it that the armoring, let's say, is also embodied in the fascia? And then because it is so, let's say, adaptive, as you have named right now, that's also why you can, with your hands, kind of move it more easily than any other, let's say, part of the body. Is it that, the flexibility that it is, let's say, accessible, maybe, to some change?
it's exactly, yes. So this is the reason why we like to work with it. And so this becomes the neurofascial transformation process,
Mm-hmm.
which makes use of the energetic breath cycle. So, for example, creating a secure breath is just being there. It's working with touch, like in a safe way, in a controlled way. I feel you, and through that you can feel yourself. So the body through this is receiving information about itself,
Mm-hmm.
and we know now that the brain is a predictive engine in a way that, for example, when people are not used to touch, and many people aren't, or they are not touched in a healthy or in an educative or just an effective, healthy way, that people have predictions about the touch. Like maybe touching is biased or it feels unsafe because of past experiences. And then in the regulation, the co-regulation we do with the client gets a new imprint that this touch, it's a trained touch, is safe. And so through that feeling of safety and in the connective tissue, in the fascia, people then open that tissue and hydrate the tissue. And so then also coming from the memory banks, the emotional repressed memory banks, all the informations can come up that we can process also. So they have to do with the history, with the biography of people. that is registered in the fascia.
So already in this, what you are saying, it is very complex. You know, when let's say old feelings are coming out, you need to work as a psychotherapist, at least as I understand it. But at the same time, we are really doing like it's about the touch, it's the literal change in the body. You know, when you say about hydration of the fascia, it's kind of very literal change that is happening to the client. So I can imagine that it is not very easy to combine these two. You know, what is also your experience about, you know, some people are more open to work with the body and some people are more open to work with emotions. So can you speak a little bit more about this, that us here who are, let's say, interested in your work, that we can imagine, you know, to do these two together. And it's not only these two, you know, I know it's more.
Yeah. So this is actually what I'm doing. I'm creating a map with which we can work to make the complexity maneuverable.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process is combining both the cognition, the words. We speak to the client while we work with the nonverbal layers. So regulating the nervous system, for example, creating safety, and also bringing the client really in the center of the work, so that the client can connect with his or her agency, you know, the ability to relate with themselves internally, with what they feel, and then to connect it with the practitioner through the eyes or through breathing. So this is a complex neurological mapping the brain needs to be able to do and needs to learn. So the practice basically starts very simple, like without many words, just connecting with the body, creating safety, security, being there. And then we go to a next step where we introduce a concept like you can nurture yourself, you can charge your energy system. And this taps into the difficulty that many people encounter with chronic fatigue, for example, or depression, or all kinds of oral compensations. And so, in a very practical way, we bring the concept like this is about nurturance, and you can receive, you can breathe in more than you breathe out, for example, which is charging the bioelectric system in the body, the energy. The amount of energy, and then to also to see where, and this where the words come in, where is this connecting to your life? How are you doing with nurturance? And how was nurturance in your past, for example? And then we go, when we, as a next step, and it's not an immediate step maybe, but when we go to the step of working with the fascia, we help then the tissue to become receptive.
Mm.
So many people are just numb in their body, or they're insensitive because they haven't been activated or stimulated on the level of the tissue. So that they learn to combine the breath now and the notion that this is about nurturance, that they can take in, for example, the therapeutic touch. So the pressure I give with my hands on the skin at the level of the fascia. And this pressure is an adjusted pressure, is the pressure that's fitting the need of the client. So it's like a shape, counter shape dialogue. So the client has a need, has a body with a shape. And then in this shape, there is a need to nurture. So I will ask something like, how much pressure do you want, and can you breathe in it? Is it possible for you to take in? And then this trains the nervous system basically in this realm of nurturance.
What comes to
And
me,
this
sorry.
transforms, yes, transforms the holding patterns or the emotional and psychological patterns that are associated with it. And so this creates a new prediction for the client that, oh, maybe, when I use this kind of breathing, I can find fulfilling, I can fill myself up with air, but I can also use this energy to fluidify my body. So I have the energy now to become fluid. So it's the water element that's literally flowing in the layer of the fascia, and which causes, if it's dehydrated, which causes rigidity, that this now also can be fluidified. But in a emotional and psychological sense, also in a self-care sense, that has to do with what behaviors the client is showing in daily life.
I would like to ask you, Dirk, about the therapeutic touch. It is in many modalities, it is something that we don't do. I mean, we do it in core energetics, but this this work, as I understand it, really needs a lot of integrity on the side of the therapist. We work with the body, we go, let's say, deep to the tissues. Is it possible to learn this? Like, is it really possible to get there? Because as is my experience, we all have our flaws and we all have our, let's say, something that we are missing. And I can imagine that it is so easy that you can get to the point where you are not really sure if you are there for the client or the client there for you. This is the main, I would say, question. Is it really possible to get there, that you are self-confident enough that you are there for the client?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be offering my program if I wouldn't believe that that is possible. But for sure that we need to work step by step, in small steps. So the main element that is needed is to be able to relate and to be able to self-regulate your nervous system towards safety, security. So to be relaxed, basically, within yourself so that you can relate from that place. So this is the normal procedure, let's say, in traditional psychotherapy where touch is not involved. We need to create empathy. We need to create a connection, co-regulation. And then when we introduce touch, we are basically relating in a way where we not only see, which is the visual sense, and we not only talk, which is the auditory sense, but now we're going to use the kinesthetic and tactile sense. And so in a step-by-step process of feeling when you touch, what information is the body receiving when you touch? So is the body from its neuroception, which is a term coming from polyvagal theory, is it feeling safe or is it feeling threatening or unsafe? So we are finding ways to create security in touch. So of course, we need to touch a lot to be able to get self-confidence in touching. So before we go deeper with the touch, this is the basis.
Mhm.
Also very important to say is that in this work, we are not manipulating the body. We are not fixing the body. We are just being with the body and answering or checking what is the body telling, from as an emergent information, as intelligence that's already sitting there. You could consider it as the unconscious. The body is the unconscious. So, for example, in a good therapeutic touch, people, like a hand on the breast, feel support or they feel warmth of the human connection, which brings up in many people tears, of something like missing this. And how touching that is to be met on this level.
Mm.
So it's very meaningful. And the touch, this is also what we find uh, now from insights from neuroscience, is that touching creates meaning. You see, the meaning is I am safe here. I am welcomed here. I am received here. I am not judged here. So this creates a deep, deep meaning in the system of people. And this meaning changes the prediction that people have about shame, for example. And so this leads me to the conclusion that in using touch, people can overcome all kinds of complexes like shame or inferiority complexes or unworthiness, etc., etc., that people have imprinted into their nervous system, into their fascia, into their breath, into their posture. And so we want to see all these aspects together and work with a number of them simultaneously. So inviting the breath, inviting the gaze, inviting the is there something you want to say? So it's very relational that the client can speak.
What comes to me now when you speak like this, um, that the voice is also important because by, let's say, your voice and your tempo, you also create something, which is now here with
Mhm.
us.
Yes.
Now, is this also part of course, Stroke's work?
It's very important. We call it verbal strokes,
Okay.
or traditionally it would be called the use of prosody, so that you are, regulating the nervous system in speaking. Now, the way I speak, I'm regulating myself basically. I'm finding a way to not speed myself, to
Mm-hmm.
not go faster than my natural pace, so that I can, as much as I can, in this situation, it's kind of a stressful situation, to be tuned to my own system. And then when I can do that, I can tune with your system and I can speak to your system as something I can see and I can feel and I can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a human capacity that we can all do this. And maybe I can touch you, and I'm already touching you with my words, and I can touch you with my eyes, and then also you are touching me because you see me, and I can feel you even through the screen. And then we add just more layers to that by touching the body, touching the skin, touching the fascia, stroking, a soft stroke or staying in a certain area, so that people can land. The voice and the breath and the touch can help you land, so to earth yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which is the theme of the first module we have, which I call Rooting Core, which is fully focused on how to be in your body in a deeply embodied way, and informed, by the touch in the layer of the fascia, because it's also the largest sensory organ of the body, right? I realize I'm giving a lot of information.
Well, Dirk, this space is not here forever, you know. You have few more minutes to speak, and then we will give space to all participants, and they can ask questions. But um, still, there is something like you mentioned the landing in the body. Uh, we also spoke about orientation, you know, how to orient. So are these two um, connected? You know, you land and then from there you can orient.
Yes, because landing implies that you become secure. And when you are secure, you can orient
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
And so orientation is important, and it's lost in people who have experienced trauma. So they lose orientation because the nervous system is out of equilibrium, out of balance. So they go in immobilization, they go in freeze, or they go in overactivation, which uh, makes them not fully oriented. So orientation also in the work is orienting simply to the body. You know,
Mhm.
this is another orientation. If you can orient to the body, that's where you can find your security.
Mhm.
That's where you can find your ground. Because many people just try to find solutions in their head. They have problems, they know they have problems, and then they go thinking about their problems. And this is not the way out of the problem. The difficulty is that there the orientation is towards the head, and the orientation is towards insecurity, and the orientation is towards fears.
Mhm.
So we need to bring the energy and the orientation towards the body where you can feel at home.
Mhm.
The body is really your home, it's the temple where you live in. And so to give the body back to people, that's one of the main goals of the work.
Yeah, it feels very nice to hear that, you know, like we all want to be more at home, you know, in our bodies and to really feel good, you know, like to feel good, to feel ourselves good and to feel good.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then from that place to work with other people, you know, sounds like this is what I want.
Yes, yes, yes. Then, yeah, when you feel good, you have a good life, you know, then the quality of life is improving because you can be effective, you can be efficient, you know, in being oriented. You don't need so much energy, and you can be on the same, resonance with somebody. It's like the coherence in your system and the growing coherence in the system of the other person makes, conversations coherent and understanding coherent because you are standing in a coherent way and you're breathing in a coherent way and you're feeling in a coherent way and you're thinking in a coherent way. So coherence is really emerging out of this security and this literally feeling good in your own body. Yes.
Before we give word to participants of this webinar, I would like to ask you, can you shortly introduce the second, third, and fourth module of how you teach core stroke? So we spoke about the rooting core, but can you say a few words about, you know, that you have divided the work into four, let's say, pieces or packages? Can you
Mhm.
say more about these three? Thank you.
So the rooting core is the first module. It's about earthing. So the earth element, you could say, is important. It's bringing awareness in the body. It's feeling your body. And we work with the superficial myofascial layer, which is the wrapping. Let's say it's the connective tissue that connects everything with everything in the body. It's about 15 to 20 kilos on average in one person. And so we bring connection to the body through opening the breath, the secure breath. We work with 4 phases in the first module. Is the secure breath, the nurturing breath, the exploring breath, with which you can, explore the world from a safe place, go into the world, and then be free, the free breath. And we combine this with the fascia work, which is opening the fascia layers in the lower body and the upper body, the neck, the head a little bit. And then we do kinds of diagnostic work, seeing what is the texture like, the fascia texture. So we use terms like wet earth or warm honey or springy moss or streaming silk as qualities that alive fascia displays. Because in the aliveness, we see these nuances. We don't see that in dead bodies. So we pick that up and we also try to feel into that. And then we can see how the fascia can be distorted. For example, it has a cold wax or a muddy or a gritty or a sandpaper quality, which means that there is either a defensiveness, there is fragmentation in the system, or there is just numbing of the system. It's like the tissue doesn't respond, or you feel collapse in the tissue, or you feel a plate armoring quality. So all these things we look at, and I think these are the main things. And then the second module, we call it flowing core, which is a combination of air and water. Because the air, we open the breath more, and we open literally the flanks, for example, the sides of the body. We open the diaphragm deeper. We work with the accessory breathing muscles and tissues. And we open the head, for example, which makes the social engagement system much more open. So it creates space inside, it creates elongation, and it creates fluidity more. So this is the focus of the second. And then we go also deeper towards the exciting breath, which is the 5th step in the breath cycle. And then the third module is the radiant core, and there we work with the deep core layers of the myofascial system, meaning that we go deeper, separating muscles, going in towards the bones in a very slow pace. It's all related. We're not fixing anything. We're just feeling into what is there, what is defending, what can let go. So that from the depth, the deeper soul energies, which are sensuality, the pelvic heart, connection, love, eros, passion, all these energies can surface. Also healthy aggression, a healthy capacity to have limits and to limit yourself in the tissues also. So it's not an intellectual pursuit. And so now here we are in fire element. So it's the fire, and it's also more the water contained. So people in this stage have more capacity to contain their emotions and to contain, and this is the problem with overwhelm. This is the problem also with abuse or sexual trauma, that, and with touch, that is that is unexperienced, unknown, that people don't know the power of their addressing the power of their contact. So we learn to be conscious. It's a matter of feeling the energy contained in your body, feeling your emotions contained in your body, and then to be able to relate deeply from that place. And so this is then in a co-regulation with the client who is learning the same thing. And then the fourth module is the Luminous Core, which now brings all these layers together. So from the fascia textures, we now go more to soul textures, we call it. So it's like people can be transparent, and luminous in their being. They can be coherent, transparently coherent. And so we find just the deeper beauty of what human beings can be about, and then to bring that out in ways through movement, through breath again, and also with special strokes in the fascia that build up a new sense, or affirm a new sense of you, something that you can feel happy about, that you feel your grace, for example, that you feel your both your strength and your vulnerability, so that this is a phase also where we go beyond the dualities, integrating the polarities. And in this way, coming to what Reich would call orgastic breath, and then what people know as ecstasy, ecstatic breath, which is nothing more than the masculine and the feminine flows merging inside internally, meaning the active and the receptive sides internally, from where you can be on a plateau of ecstasy, which is not a spiritual bypass, which is not, what people search, but without the foundation sometimes for it, so that an ecstatic feeling is just because you're on top of the world, but you're not separating from the world. You're fully in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're both up and down in the same time. You can be high and you can be low in the same time. So these kinds of things we play with then, and it's very, very nice.
It sounds very, tasteful.
We have a lot of pleasure. We have a
I
lot of
have no
life.
other
Yes.
words.
It's
Thank
very
you.
pleasurable. Yes.
Thank you, Dirk.